Foix is a commune, the former capital of the County of Foix. Today it is the Préfecture of the Ariège department in southwestern France in the Midi-Pyrénées region. It is the least populous administrative centre of a department in all of France, although it is only very slightly smaller than Privas. It lies south of Toulouse, close to the border with Spain and Andorra. At the 2009 census, the city had a population of 9,861 people. It is only the second city of the department after Ariège, which is one of the two sub-prefectures. History. The Romans built a fort on the rocky hill where the Château de Foix castle now overlooks the town. The town of Foix probably owes its origin to an oratory founded by Charlemagne, which afterwards became the Abbey of St. Volutinus in 849. The current area was preceded by the County of Foix. The founding, in 849, of the Abbey St. Volutinus allowed the development of urban living in the 10th century to the 12th century. The city reached its peak in the 14th century. The castle, whose foundations date back to the early 10th century, was a strong fortress that withstood the repeated attacks of Simon de Montfort between 1211 and 1217, during the Albigensian Crusade. In 1272, when the Count of Foix refused to recognize the sovereignty of the King of France, Philip the Bold personally took the leadership of an expedition against the city. Subsequently the Count surrendered. In 1290, at a meeting of the Prefecture region and the County of Foix, the city was practically abandoned by the Counts. Gaston Phoebus was the last to have lived in the castle, and by the 16th century the castle had lost its military purpose. The castle was then used as a prison until 1864. In 1536 began the first Reformation preaching in Foix, and in 1579 the Church of Montgauzy was destroyed. The same fate awaited the abbey and its church in 1581. The following year, Foix was retaken by Catholics, and in 1589 the Count of Foix, Henry of Navarre, was crowned King of France and became Henry IV. Education. Primary education: Lucien Goron Primary School, Cadirac Primary School, Cardi Primary School, Corbett Primary School, Brulhos Primary School. Secondary education: Collège La Canale, Gabriel Fauré General and Technological School, Jean Daroux Vocational School. Higher education: Central University of the Ariège. Population. Heraldry. The coat of arms used by the commune has the blazoned oratoire Pals de Guayules. This is replicated on the flag, and in the arms of the département. It originates from the arms of the Counts of Foix, and as such dates back into medieval times. It bears a resemblance to the coat of arms of Aragon, both featuring in the coat of arms of Andorra. Philately. In 1955 the post office issued a postage stamp with a face value of 50 cents, consisting of the black, green, yellow and red representing the arms of County of Foix, which is referenced as White 1044. It is part of the 8th century series of provincial coat of arms. In 1958, the post office issued a postage stamp with a face value of 15 F, consisting of ultramarine, grey, brown and green representing the Château de Foix, which is referenced White 11759. International relations. Foix is twinned with the following places: Lleida since 1962, Andorra la Vella, Ripon. Personalities: Louis de Bassompierre, Abbot of St. Volutinus; Frédéric Solier, novelist, dramatist, critic and journalist; Charles de Freycinet, statesman and Prime Minister; Louis Palès, director of the National School of Civil Aviation from 1967 to 1982; Roger Bataille, painter; Christian Dorjix, surrealist painter; Alexandra Rousey, MP under the Third Republic, the Socialist Party activist and Democratic Socialist Party. Eric Carrière, footballer. Jean Clots, world-renowned prehistorian. George Patrick Gleis, writer. Marc Bonneville, philosopher and translator. Jean-Yves Ferry, author of comics. Chlorame Auto, Miss France. Tour de France. Foix was the start of Stage 15 in the 2007 Tour de France. It has also been the finishing town of Stage 11 in the 2008 Tour de France and of Stage 14 2012 Tour de France. Sites: Botanical Garden. The Botanical Garden, Les Épines de l'Espinette, has a collection of cacti and succulents, as well as citrus trees, banana plants, and Mediterranean vegetation. Granary. The granary, dating from 1870, is in the style of Victor Balti. Castle. The castle stands on a rocky outcrop to the west of the town. The majority of the present building dates from the 12th century to the 14th century. In the north, the square tower, covered by a slated roof at the end of the 19th century, is certainly the oldest because it dates the 11th and 12th centuries. The middle tower, built in the 13th century, was completely renovated in the 14th century. It has beautiful architectural features such as sculpted heads and coats of arms keystones. The round tower, on the other hand, has Gothic architecture with large bays illuminating beautiful hexagonal vaulted halls. St. Volusian Abbey. In 1104, the regular canons of St. Augustine took possession of an abbey housing the relics of St. Volusian. It was then that the construction of a large church with 3 naves, with a transept, was undertaken. In the 14th century, the Romanesque apse was replaced by a new polygonal chancel. The building was destroyed during the religious wars and the relics were burned. Reconstruction work was undertaken from 1609 and completed in 1670. Of the medieval church, there are mainly the portal and the base of the walls of the nave remaining. There is an organ of 40 stops, built by Firmus in 1869 and restored in 2007. Old Town. This still retains its medieval character as reflected in the narrow streets and some half-timbered houses. Chaplain area of Montgauzy. Of the primitive Romanesque church and the church of the 13th century, there is nothing left. The present church dates partly from 1628, and kept the Romanesque layout and a portal that imitates the style. The history of the chapel Montgauzy is hectic. Its foundation commemorates the victory of Charlemagne over the Moors in 778, and the chapel became a place of pilgrimage. In 1340, the Bishop of Pamiers, Arnaud Villima, had to intervene against incivility of some of pilgrims which were becoming increasingly numerous. On January 4, 1562, the chapel is one of the many targets of the Reformation, and in 1579 the governor of the castle of Foix demolished it. It was rebuilt in 1628 and the pilgrimage recommenced. Following the Revolution, having been rebuilt, it is sold in 1791. This private property, due to lack of maintenance, then falls apart. It is the turn of the department to make the purchase in 1840. An école normale is installed in the area and the chapel in 1843 is made fit for worship. It closed again in 1883, and the furniture is scattered. After repairs in 1943, it was again reopened for worship. The alleys of Villot. The Villot, in the Middle Ages, was a space outside the walls surrounding the city built in 1330. Executions took place sometimes at the alleys. In the 13th century, after the destruction of the city walls, tree planting and urban works with a fountain and orchestra setting make it the choice for walking for the local Fuxens. The site currently houses the festivities of the city, the market, as well as many shops, eating places and public services. Bibliography. Claudine Palehes, Le Comte de Foix un pays des hommes. Regarde sur un comté Pyrénées au Moyen-Âge ISBN 2-91648809-X ISBN 9782916488097-462-P